Yeah, before we get started for real today, my main objective is to show you guys what I've been doing with my build up until now. I came into last Epoch having played a little bit before, enough to know that I was really going to like the game because I love action RPGs. But I didn't really know a lot about like builds or whatever. I did know that they didn't have like a standard warrior barbarian class. It was like you could play the Sentinel, which has all these sort of like paladin, which is like the infused by the light, or Void Knight, which is like shadow, or Forge Guard, which is like fire. So it's all some kind of elemental damage no matter what. Or I could play Primalist, which is kind of like a druid guy. Shaman, you could do shapeshifting with druid, but even that was still elemental damage. And then I looked at the Beastmaster and I was like, well, it's got a pet, but you don't actually have to use a pet. I have been, but the next builds I'm gonna do might not. But he's like, he leaps around, he shouts, he's got super fast attack speed, some cool defense, like stacking like bleeds and stuff. I was like, that guy seems really cool. So here's what we've come up with so far for the build. He's basically a really fast attacking, relatively tanky, high health regen, bleed stacking swipe dude. And I am using a pet though. Again, one of the reasons I want to make a video like this and like have like a review is to sort of just have like a diary entry of like where my build sort of started, and then where those builds end up going will be future stuff. But the cool thing is this build has taken me really smoothly and comfortably through the leveling process and all the way up into the beginning of the level 100 like empowered monoliths, which is really cool. So I guess we can look at the skills first. I'm using Swipe, Warcry. I got the Sabertooth with Leap and Frenzy Totem. So basically what I've done here is I go into Aspect of the Panther for stacking damage, basically. I love attack speed, so it giving me attack speed in general is excellent. Then we get more maximum stacks and melee damage per stack with Panther. And then I also give the Aspect of the Panther to my Sabertooth, which is super cool. So he attacks, hits hard. The buff lasts longer, and we get super health regen off of that. I put 3 points in bleed here because we are looking to do damage with bleed. This could absolutely go somewhere else. And if I was going to put it somewhere else, I might just put it in more AoE. We took 2 points here just to get to the AoE. I wanted a little bit of AoE. I was thinking about doing the culling strike, but I haven't really needed that yet. And I haven't been using the slow damage thing, but I think I might want to do that. Once I start playing other builds that need more mana, we might go down here, but this is what I did with this build. And this situation right here could transition into a crit focused thing, where I would take points out of bleed and try to put them into the crit, and that wouldn't really require that much different stuff. But basically, a lot of builds can start off as like a dot thing and then transition into crit when you have better gear. That's what I'm doing so far. Does this class go berserk, frenzy, go crazy, go stupid? Yes, it does. It does. And you go berserk off of this. So this is my Warcry. For Warcry, I have it making me immune, have it making me go berserk, I have it making the maximum stacks of berserk much higher, and the berserk duration lasting longer. And then I have attack speed per stack on berserk. So what berserk does, it basically gives you melee damage per stack. It's a pretty short thing, but if you continue hitting things, you continue stacking up your damage and stacking up your attack speed, basically, which is really cool. I also have the shout knocking enemies back further, but it doesn't actually knock them back because I have it pulling them in, which is cool. So it kind of groups the mobs up a little bit because I don't have a lot of AoE, so kind of pulls them in and you can blast them with the swipes and your pet. I have it giving me a teeny tiny bit of health. I only need 1 point here, so I probably should like unspec this because it's just really not that important to me. I don't know why I have that actually now. I'm gonna remove 1 point out of that. I don't like it, and I'm gonna put that 1 point probably in like AoE. Truly, there's really nothing else that I desperately want, but I think AoE is cool because it'll hit enemies from a little bit further away. And we don't want the crit yet, but crit would be really fun to have. Making it deal damage is also kind of neat, but I'll just make it in a larger area when I get that point back. But yeah, eventually, if we wanted to go crit, we would probably have to pull points out of this utility right here, and maybe even honestly like some other things, because there's some crazy stuff. You get a increased crit chance for 4 seconds, and then while Warcry is on cooldown, your crits have a chance to use Warcry for you, which is absolutely insane. That sounds like a lot of fun, but because we don't have the gear for any kind of crit stuff right now, my gear is bad. But the thing is, this build has been fine to take me all the way through the game up until like Empowered Rifts, where or Empowered Monoliths, which we're just starting now, and it's been fine. Like face tanking all the bosses, just chilling. So the fact that my gear is bad hasn't really been a problem because we're propped up by a pretty good set of skills and masteries. So moving on to the Sabertooth. Again, this guy has probably room for optimization as well. But here's what we got. We got him basically just adding bleed chance and scaling his bleeds a little bit, giving him really fast attack speed and movement speed, making him just really have faster attack speed, higher bleed chance, but take more damage. But it doesn't matter that he takes more damage because he's a tank anyway, because we only have one pet. That one pet's really strong. We have 20% chance to cast Flurry Swipes, which is just multiple attacks. It will apply bleed too, which is cool because we have that on this. But we have him just doing a little bit more damage, a little bit more AoE. I don't know if this point's really that worth, but we could either keep this there or move it somewhere else. Maybe just put it back in this to not really... I mean, I don't know if 10% AoE, 10% damage really matters that much compared to 5% chance to proc Flurry Swipes, which would stack bleed better. So, either way. We gave him 3 points here. Not sure why he has 3 points there. I think I'm gonna have to respec him. I think I'm going to. We're gonna take this point out. Oh, and I'm gonna take... Oh no, we need 3 points to get to this, but I am gonna take that point out. That's fine. 3 points to get to this. To get to whenever he does his little pounce, he'll do Flurry Swipes, and then right here, Flurry Swipes inflicts bleed on hit, just in general. And if he's low health, it always crits, but he's like never low health, so not a big deal. But that's what we have set up for this guy. Basically, just like going with the build's idea of attacking pretty fast and doing a bunch of bleeds and making him really strong by only having one pet and making him benefit from Sabertooth's endurance, which is cool. For leap, I don't know why it's moving my character around when I click this. For leap, I probably could tinker with this as well, but I have debuff removal on bleed, so it'll like cleanse my ailments, which also gives me a little bit of healing. Also, it gives me frenzy when I land. I might want to put more points in this, really. Just more melee damage upon landing is kind of cool. But one of the main things we have it doing is being a shorter cooldown, which if I go through here, so it does more damage, which is whatever. It has a chance to stun, which is whatever. It has a chance to reset itself, though, which is pretty cool. So, so the cooldown here, and then the chance to reset is kind of nice to be able to leap all over the place. Being immune to damage while leaping is cool. Somebody has said this talent used to be bugged. Hopefully it's not now, and then I just have it doing more AoE. So, not like super exciting, but it is a nice defensive just to like be able to move around and jump out of stuff and cleanse debuffs. It's nice, but I almost would... I'm thinking about if I was going to change anything, I might just take this off. But pretty soon I am going to change some things around, but we'll see. Leap is kind of good, though. It definitely is good. Now we have Frenzy Totem, which we have giving me more melee damage while active, and it just kind of just gets plopped down wherever. It tethers, so there's like a tether, and while we're tethered, we do 18% more damage, which is cool. And we have that tether range being a little bit increased. Again, if we played crit, we could do some crit multiplier stuff. There's a lot of different places where you can get crit multi on this character, which is neat, but our gear isn't good enough for that yet, so it is what it is. I gave myself some health regen, which is hilarious because we have a ridiculous amount of health regen. But I just didn't really think there was really anything else that I needed that badly. We could do poison chance or something like that, or just more tether range, but I don't know. I just didn't really think it was that important. But we are getting a buffed frenzy effect and this, which is kind of funny. You get a buff that gives me more damage, more attack speed, but also increases the damage that we take. I still think that's pretty cool. It's a 6-second buff that's giving you a bunch of cool stuff, so just giving you like turbo mega damage. I guess this is kind of neat though. If we wanted to take this, just more damage and then buff my Sabertooth, I guess with that could be kind of like a neat option. Takes 3 points to do it, so if we wanted to like not take more damage or not do regen, we could like maybe take 1 point out of something and then give flurry swipes another chance to cast. Could be kind of cool. I'm not really relying on my pet to do that much damage, but I feel like we probably don't need this HP regen thing, so if I wanted to try something out, I probably would do like take these out, maybe take 1 point out of like totemic reach, something like that, but whatever. There's plenty of room to tinker around, and I will, but this is kind of like the basic setup. This stuff is good, this stuff is kind of whatever, and I might move it into this, because that'd be neat, with like a 4-point investment to get this. Plus, I mean, like, the thing is, it's only for my pets, though, and when things are only for my pet, I'm not that interested. I'm playing this guy because he's kind of a physical, like, tough dude, and you can make it like a super pet class, but that's not really what I'm like pumped up about, is being a pet class. Which is one of the reasons why one of the next pivots I might do is, instead of playing Sabertooth, I might do Upheaval. But I don't really have that great mana, so Upheaval, I would probably almost use it like a War Breaker to like slow and bleed everything, and then benefit from more damage to slowed enemies with Swipe. Is this the one? Yeah. More damage versus slowed, 20% per point, so 60% more damage. That's kind of insane. So I might do that next. But anyway, in terms of my like my talents and stuff, I start off by doing this. A bunch of points in strength. Strength is always good, and health regen. We have so much health regen. It's wild. And then I put a little bit of, like, first things first, we like I went as far as this way as I could. We had to come back for this. So I think we had to do like a couple, like max this out, a couple like points there, max this out, a couple points here, max this out. And now I'm going for ancestral weaponry because it's going to give me, at max, 40% plus physical damage with an axe, which is nuts. Then we put a ton of points in the Beastmaster tree. So we have savagery, which is increasing melee damage. We have a bunch of extra strength. And generally, like, this is something that is recommended by people who play this game, and it makes sense to me, is to kind of try to get as far down the tree as you can to get the powerful stuff, and then backfill after. But I'm just going to show you just in the order of this, just because I feel like it. But we're taking less damage from nearby enemies and getting strength, which is armor and damage, which is cool. Again, this is just increased damage from me and my minions. We take 1 point to get the aspect of the shark buff. Makes us just attack faster and hit harder for a period of time. I am limiting myself to 1 pet right here. But they're bigger, which doesn't really do anything, but they do more damage, which definitely does something. And we like that. Thank you so much, bro. Big flex for you, Psycho Strike. Thanks for that prime, man. Welcome, welcome. I take 4 points in Boar's Heart to proc Aspect of the Boar, and I have that super buffed up to give me an additional 15% damage reduction and just more health regen. Health regen and just damage reduction are like my main defenses here, so we want that. So this is like 30% damage reduction when Aspect of the Boar is up. And then we can also proc Aspect of the Boar by attacking with a 20% chance, and just gives me 5 strength on top of that. Then we're getting more melee physical damage from me and my minion. We are shredding armor with Aspect of the Shark, which is cool. We are also granting Aspect of the Shark to my pet with 1 point. Another 1 point here, just so we can have access to this, which greatly increases the effect, greatly increases the Aspect of the Shark duration, which is awesome. So more damage, more attack speed, very cool. And then we buff our pet again by giving them more health and more damage. I'm taking a few points in this thing for vitality to help with resist and endurance threshold, and giving that endurance to my pet when we respec. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that, but maybe. The vitality is still good. It's like 5 resist for poison and necrotic resistance. Then I put 10 points in Viper Fangs for 50% attack speed. The poison thing is kind of whatever. I just want the attack speed. And then I put 10 points in this for just big strength, big physical damage, which is awesome. My gear is nothing to like be excited about, but I'll show it to you anyway. The weapon is good. I like axes for the chance to bleed on hit. It doesn't really matter that much while you're leveling. Just get like a big two-hander with attack speed, and you're probably gonna be having fun. I used like the big old like femur bone thing for a while for like the plus 30 strength. That was kind of nuts. Some other fun things to look out for are aspect of the board duration. For me, I built damage until I started getting one-shotted, and then I built defense, like throughout the course of the leveling process. And so the boar is really nice because it's just, you know, 30% damage reduction like all the time, which is great. But when you're leveling, things to look out for is just like try to get your resistances up. Usually like each act has like a particular resist that you kind of need. So, you know, when you get to the ice area, get your frost resist up or whatever. But I like armor, health, flat regen is all good for your defenses. And what you can do is you can kind of use your armor to build defenses because your tree helps you build so much offense. But that's just, you know, gotta kind of make do with what you got. Amulet is just kind of using this for the physical necrotic resist and elemental resist. Percent health regen is not nearly as good as flat health regen because you have so much percent health regen in your build from like your talents and stuff that you really want to stack flat regen on your gear so you can buff that. But yeah, I have like 400 something like health regen per second when we're all buffed up, which is awesome. Chest is garbage, but it's health and ele res and physical res, so it's like, okay. Belt is the same thing. It's like, it's garbage, but it's cold res, poison res, and elemental res. So it's like, okay, that'll work. Rings are buffing my damage and giving me some health and regen and vitality. This ring is like, I think I'm just wearing it because of the resist. And it has 2 big resists and strength and physical dam. So it's like, okay, I don't really need mana on this character, but eventually I will. But right now I don't. We have a ton of armor shred, some cold resistance, which we kind of need to get rid of. We have 158% cold res. But it has attack speed, which always feels good, leveling this guy. We got these boots recently. They're not amazing, but they have, you know, enough movement speed, but they also increase bleed duration. And they cause more physical ailment damage to moving enemies. But you don't really, like, things aren't really moving that much when you're attacking because you're melee, you're standing still, so they're standing still. But they do give 8 strength, so that's kind of cool. Something to look out for are these, like, plus, like, skill relics or plus skills on your armor. Things like that. We got swipe on there, and damage, and health, and some resist, and endurance, so that's kind of cool. I'd like to get more endurance on this character, because endurance is a mechanic where when you drop below a certain health amount, like 330 health for me, then I get 39% damage reduction. So, like, this character has insane regen. So as long as he doesn't get one-shotted, he can, like, you know, get to that health range where he becomes extremely tanky, and then regen the health back, which is really fun. For idols, I'm using idols for basically like some bleed chance and resists mostly until I find things like this, which is like health, 5% increase health, and flat health is insane. I want those. But yeah, resistances, plus health, plus armor, those kind of things are what I'm looking for. But all my gear is bad at this point. What I did find though really early on was this. I do 20% more damage if I only have one singularity equipped. But I can't crit. But I have like 7% crit anyway. All my stuff is bleed and attack speed, so I don't really need crit anyway. My pet can still crit, but I don't. But that's pretty much where my character is at right now. Again, it's been a pretty fun dude to play, and it has taken like 0 investment to get him going. It was just like, I think this is like an ultra newbie build, because all I'm doing is just like using like a normal attack. But at the same time, like it's been working, which is kind of funny. I'll probably want to do like maybe like one little thingy to show you guys what we're cooking with. We'll take him into a level 100 one, which we've been flying through like the whole game just fine. And now that we've finally made it to like the empowered rifts, things are starting to get interesting. We're starting to take a little bit more damage, and that actually like makes sense and feels good, I'd say though. So we'll send on this one, see how it goes. But yeah, I'm very excited because we have a lot of room to like tinker with this build. We could build it towards crit if we wanted to, but I think what I'll probably likely do is maybe drop my pet and go upheaval. But here's what the gameplay looks like. It's just leaping around, smashing into stuff, stacking damage, and you and your pet kind of have like a very relatively short range, but stacking bleeds and stacking armor shred and attacking fast with tons of health regen. Hit your shout for berserk, drop your frenzy totem for attack speed buff and damage. just chop things down. It feels like super like one-dimensional, but again, like for a starter build and a self-made build, I think it's kind of fine. Like there's gonna be a point where I want to scale this thing up and I want to like have like different abilities and stuff like that and kind of lean into something that actually makes it really powerful, but some of those things are going to require some gear, and this thing at least lets you level and probably start to farm the early end game enough to get myself some loot and then really put some cool builds together. Like the upheaval experiment is something I want to try, but there's a really cool like low life dot earthquake thing by a guy named The Curse. So that build looks really fun, and it's kind of something I've wanted to do. I wanted to try like a low life ward setup on this guy because he has a talent in his primalist tree that gives you more damage and less damage taken at low health. And that sounded really fun, but I wasn't really sure like where to make use of that. And I think that build is like where it's at. Also, that build has no pet, so it's kind of like that's what I'm looking for. But you see, we can die, but we also just kind of like take hits and shrug it off, which ends up feeling really good. And this is just like the very beginning of the game, but having a build that's fun and simple, it takes 0 investment. Like you literally need nothing for this build to work. Just get gear and put it on and just chop through the game and you'll be fine. But I wanted to make a little update on this at the beginning of today's stream because things might start changing here pretty soon now that we're into the end game, and I'm gonna want to experiment with some builds. But this one got me started. It could get you started too. I'm having fun with it, continue to have fun with it, and I wanted to make a little like build diary update before things start getting crazy. But it's gonna be a fun day today. Gonna be on the grind. See you guys on stream.